Hello and welcome back to Business with Go. We're going to be talking about the importance of businesses expanding abroad. So, you've got multiple kind of benefits. So, not benefits, like the importance of things when business expands. Like internally, you've got like increased tax revenue, increased employment, spin-off effect, control prices for consumers, and all these sort of things you have here. But now, sometimes you've got things like increased employment, which were repeated. In this kind of expanding abroad situation, when you've got a business which says, okay, we're expanding abroad, and well, we're going to need to increase production, obviously. So we need extra goods and services produced in our own country, and this generates more employment. Because even if you're not, like, you'll often find this where companies will produce things in one country. Now, they'll sell them to loads. They may even have an office in loads of things. And they may, like, for example, if a company sells physical goods, they go, okay, well, we've got a warehouse in this country where we ship our stuff out of there, but we produce the goods. So that means you have all these sort of things here where you increase their employment, and you're like, well, even if you like, what I'm saying is you're producing more than your market will want. Like, let's say your business, and let's say your production is in Spain, and let's say Spain has a market of, let's say, 100,000 of these products. That would be if you expanded the market. That would be if you took over all competitors. That would be everything. The whole market. It's 100,000. Now, obviously, if you produce 200,000, you're producing more than that market would ever want. So you wouldn't do that if you're just expanding within the market. But because you're producing things for other countries, because you're basically producing for the entire world sometimes, what happens there is that the employment you're actually doing is so much so that you're actually employing more people than you ever would. Like, of course, the issue with that is that oftentimes what you're doing there is, like, by doing that, you're actually harming other countries' employment, though, because, like, by other countries having to import your goods, it's like, well, it's a bit dodgy. It's like, yeah, sure, but what about those countries' employment? But for the country itself that are producing this content, that are producing all the things, that's might be less to employ. For example, if this became a full-time job, would be one less person that my country needs to employ. Yeah, and it also improves international trade. So, when you've got a country that has to have balance of payments, which would be total exports minus total imports, this will improve the This will improve if the export of goods increases. This will obviously make the country richer, because if you've got a situation where I am paying tax on all of these products that are being sold to the global market, but the global market aren't the one, like, the people within that country aren't the ones buying it, then what happens there is that people don't have to pay over the amount of money, so they don't live in the poverty that they'd have to do if you did that, because all you'd be doing there would be just shipping money that way, and that's pointless. Instead, what happens is you're bringing in money. You're bringing in more money than you're putting out. So then it's like, well, okay, well then we tax that business, we get more tax, but we get more tax than we would if we just said, no, let's not have that business and let's just tax people. Like, let's just get that business. You don't have to give as much as you would if a business expands within the market. Because if a business expands within the market, the tax is like, well, yeah, but you kind of need then to help the consumer who has to buy this product and then is in danger of losing the home, or the case may be, because they have to spend so much on products and services. If that's money coming in from other countries, it's like, well, yeah. Once again, though, it also kind of badly affects other countries, because they're like, well, other countries then have to they tax their consumers, and then the consumers are like, well, now I have to spend more money by buying a product outside the country. Now the money's going out of the country, and it's like, and then you have to help the person out because they live in the property, because they have a situation here where you have these problems. Now, you also have an increase in foreign currency. Some countries might be buying exports from a country. They will pay in foreign currency. Now, this will kind of diversifies the risk for companies of dealing in just the currency that they use. So foreign currency can also be used by companies to import stock and raw materials. if you're a supplier of things and you're based in one country and someone else goes, well, I would like some of your stock. It's like, oh, here you go. And you've got all these sort of things you have here where, you think, okay, so let's solve this problem of these things. And that, it has those kind of things you have there. It also has the improvement of international relations. See, exporting builds relationship between countries and economies, which is going to lead to loyalty. If you expand into foreign markets, that could lead to more inward foreign direct investment by businesses that have dealt with, other countries they're exporting. Or I should say within other countries they're exporting. And that's kind of thing you have here where the other thing. Now, of course, there's the one problem, which is this. When a business is smaller, it may be bought out by a bigger business. But it's not too likely to be bought out by a global one that isn't large. Now and again it will be, but it'll be harder for them to. Because, let's say I'm a business, and there's a business of around equal size of mine, and I say, I want to buy them. But here's the problem. They're not in the same market as mine. So I'm not crushing competition. Any assets they have, I have. All I'm doing is entering a market. But you could argue, well, I'm quite small. I'm not like those big tech corporations. I'm not like those big businesses that go, no, this is a small business and we have billions coming in every single year, so we'll just buy them for $500,000. That's tiny. That's pittance. For them, for that business, obviously, not for most people. But that business is saying, well, why would we care? Why would we're going to buy the smaller business. Oh, well, obviously, when I say smaller business, I mean smaller business. The business could still be massive. You could have one of the biggest businesses in the entire country, but it would be considered small for a big business. A business is making billions. It's not going to care if it has to pay 10 million to buy a business. It's we get to expand in that market, and you also get to crush the competition. And that's the thing. When it's bigger, it's well, yeah. But when it's smaller, it's well, no. There's less of that chance that the business will be bought up by someone who's thinking that. But if you've got a business that is in the position whereby it's okay, so it is expanding into new markets, sometimes then business might go, well, before this there was no real reason to buy this business because we didn't really want to, we wanted to expand, but we didn't want to expand by just buying it up. Maybe we would have had a merger or something like that, but we didn't want to expand by buying it up because that would have been a high risk. But now this business is actually being a bit invasive. It's coming into our market, so let's buy it. And this is actually happening to a lot of businesses. They are, they're making a killing. They're massive business. They're very successful in their own country, and they expand and they get bought by a business that is not from that country. And this creates a bit of a problem because now you might have this situation where some of them is well, no, I don't want to be that person who gets profits and goes, okay, now what we're going to do here is we're going to ship the profits to this country that pays has a tax rate of around £0, and we're just going to funnel it through there. Yes. Will that mean that all those hospitals, all those schools will be defunded because we can't? The state won't be able to fund them anymore? Yes, it will indeed. It will. Yes, it will indeed. Yeah. So anyway, let's do this. It's well, no, you don't want to do that. Well, if that's the case, you don't want to do that. Well, then it's well, fine, you won't. It's a very simple thing. But if someone else buys your business, it's well, that business can be used. A business might go. And beforehand, it might be oh no, we don't want to use sweatshops. Then another business might go, when we do. Another business might go, we don't want to use automation. Then another business might go, what do we do? And all these little things that might be moral things, might be just removed. And you've got also the thing of basically loyalty based on perception of helping the little guy. And this is the thing that a lot of big businesses actually feed on as well. So a big business will often buy a smaller business and then let that smaller business appear as if it's competition, when in fact it's not. And that smaller business will be yeah, you don't like this corporation? Come to buy from us. And if it is an actually truly smaller business, that's great. But sometimes that may well have been a smaller business, but then that business buys it up and suddenly it's well, now if you buy from them, you're not. And it's also the kind of thing where it's like, well, I want to buy something that's from my country. Not because, like, obviously, if you're like, let's say, English, American, Chinese, Japanese, these kind of things, you know, that obviously doesn't exactly apply, because these countries have already big major brands that, you know, are already businesses that are global and already are industry leaders. You know, you got all these kind of things here. Well, maybe not England, but you got all these sort of things where it's like, well, you know, your business is something which, you know, it's like, well, that's not really your true thing. Like, you'd pick that anyway. But if a business is like, well, no, this business is from my country, or this business is from my country, that is, you know, it looks kind of like, well, it's like, there are all these businesses out there, they're American, or they're Chinese, or they're Japanese, or that kind of thing, and they're all big major businesses, and they all come from the same kind of areas, because they all, you know, are, you know, grouping together and all benefiting each other. And everyone just sort of goes, yeah, well, they're the ones with the best price. But sometimes you're able to see, well, this business, it's succeeding, this business has the prices, this business, all these things, I'm going to buy from them. And then the business sells. And while that business may originally have been set up by, you know, like a country from someone from a country from an underdog country, suddenly now it's owned by their business, or it's owned by investors who are from the countries. And that's a problem that a lot of businesses will face. And that's the situation you have there with all these things when you're looking at the importance of these businesses expanding abroad. Now, I'll just say this: thank you for listening, and hopefully you'll come back next time. If you don't want to come back next time, you can view the videos and subscribe to the YouTube channel. That'd be absolutely, you know, just perfection and delightful. And well, if you don't know the other videos, both now and in the future, this is this. Bye bye for everything, and I hope you will enjoy the rest of your existence.